Hello, boys and girls. Mrs. Blackburn here for day 4 of procedural writing. We are going to discuss editing today. Our learning goal, students will be able to edit their procedural writing by capitals, matching nouns and verbs, using correct punctuation, and correcting spelling. Your success criteria, I can successfully edit my draft by using the cup strategy. Remember, procedural writing is when you are explaining how to do something, for example, how to make hot chocolate. All right, so what exactly is cups? Well, we watched a video yesterday. We talked about arms for revising, and it did mention cups, but we're going to review that in a little more detail today. So C stands for beginning of your sentences. The letter I, when it stands alone, is always capitalized. Sometimes we forget this. I always like to tell my students that you are a very important person, so that you should always capitalize the letter I when you're speaking about yourself. You also capitalize the names of people, the names of places, holidays, and the days of the week. Also, don't forget the months of the year are also capitalized. Okay, so now we have the U in cups. So can you understand it is something you need to ask yourself. So one of the things that's really important is oftentimes we write things down, but we don't go back and reread what we write. So make sure that you're slowing down your brain, you're slowing things down, and you reread it carefully and ask yourself, does it make sense? Okay, so next we're going to look at the P in cups. The P stands for punctuation. Do you have your period in the correct place? Now, that's another important reason why you need to reread it, because we know the period is at the end of the thought, and that's where you would stop naturally and take a breath. If it doesn't fall naturally in the sentence where you would take a breath, then you've put your period in the wrong place. So reading your paper or your draft out loud is important. Sometimes I notice that students will just kind of throw a period in somewhere. So it's very important that you make sure that you put it at the end of your thought and where you would naturally stop and then want to take a breath. Exclamation point is for excitement or to show a lot of feeling or emotion. Question mark is when you're asking those who, what, when, where, and how questions, and your voice would go up at the end. Comma is for a pause. Apostrophe is to show ownership, and for contractions, then we have our quotation marks, which is wrapped around the outside of the dialogue or the spoken parts. So these are things that we're paying really close attention for on the editing part. Okay, and then finally we have the S in our cups, and this stands for spelling. So if we're trying to spell something and make sure that it's spelled correctly, we're first going to try and sound it out. So you'll want to stretch those words out. If you have a personal word wall, this would be where you'd want to use that. Look at words around the room. I know most of you are at home right now, so you can look around the house. If you have a dictionary at home, that's awesome. We did discuss dictionary.com, which is a great website that you can go to and use. You can also use words from your text or your books that you have around the house. Dictionary.com is probably your best place to go and look for the correct spelling. You can also pull up a Word document in Microsoft Office, type the word, and then right click or even left click at times, and you'll see that little squiggly line underneath it, and it will give you suggestions for how to spell the word correctly. Okay, so we have a nice little anchor chart here, and I will place this in Schoology for you on a puzzle piece, and it gives a nice layout of everything. You can see C stands for capital letters, and then it gives you some reminders on places that you would definitely want to capitalize things. U stands for understand. Make sure that you can understand what you have written. Reread it. Can you understand it? Does it make sense? P stands for punctuation and all those different things and ways that you need to make sure that these have the correct punctuation. And then finally, S for spelling, the different ways that you can make sure that you have spelled things correctly. And don't forget about dictionary.com. All right, so that wraps things up for us today. In conclusion, your success criteria is I can successfully use the cup strategy to edit my draft. Again, this is a way just to help you remember to edit your draft correctly and make sure that you have all your mistakes correct and that you can have a writing piece that looks well and looks good so that your reader can understand what you're trying to write. All right, so if you have any questions, please reach out to your teachers.